And so now I would like to introduce Sean Faircloth, who is the Executive Director of the Secular Coalition. He is, brace yourselves, he's a lobbyist in Washington, but not the normal kind of lobbyist that we hear so much about. So without further ado, this is Sean Faircloth.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Americans United, for putting this event on. I am Sean Faircloth, Executive Director of the Secular Coalition for America. And for those of you who care about separation of church and state, I am your employee. You tell me what to do. I work also for the acceptance and inclusion of non-theistic Americans. The biggest part of my presentation is at the end, because I'm hoping that you will store up questions as you hear my presentation and think of how we can further this cause and what your thoughts are regarding improving the status of separation of church and state and other issues in the United States. I just took the job recently. I served 10 years in the Maine legislature. I was on Judiciary Committee for 6 years, on the Appropriations Committee for 2 years, and then I was elected by my colleagues to leadership in the Maine legislature. So even though I actually grew up right around the corner, I grew up in Huntington Beach, but I was in politics in Maine for 10 years. And so it's been a while since I've been in a city. Living in Washington, D.C. is definitely new. I just got the job recently. It's an educational experience. And certainly traveling around the United States with regard to these issues is an educational experience. I got to go to the Creation Museum in Kentucky. It was excellent. I learned how the dinosaurs got on the ark. It's because they were baby dinosaurs. And it says so on a plaque, so we know that that's true. Yeah, they have a beautiful, awesome, really expensive display of Adam and Eve with the dinosaurs as well. So it's an excellent, excellent museum. I encourage all of you to see it. I also got to go to places like Louisiana, which was an education for me. You know, I represented Bangor, Maine in the legislature and politics for 10 years, so Stephen King was my constituent. And some people would say that Stephen King was kind of scary because he would write about demons, but in Louisiana they have Governor Jindal, who specifically says he believes in the existence of demons. So you decide which is more scary, you know. And they also have Senator Vitter from Louisiana. Now, he's an interesting character. He's the fellow, you may have heard of him. He will lecture you about your sex life while he's having sex with whores around the corner from my office at the Mayflower Hotel. My office is on K Street. Oh, I missed that part. You know, to each their own. Because I'm libertarian. If you want to have sex in diapers, that is entirely... I'm not pointing at you specifically for a reason. Just, whatever you want to do, it's good by me. I'm completely libertarian. But what's maybe lost a little bit about Senator Vitter is another statement he made that I found very much a learning experience. This is a senator from Louisiana. And the senator from Louisiana said that opposing gay marriage was so important that it was like if Katrina and Rita were to get together. That's how important it would be to oppose gay marriage. Now, I'm thinking Louisiana hurricanes, you know, kind of important, but I guess not. And then I thought Katrina and Rita getting together, two females. Maybe he should be more concerned. And I went to Iowa. I went to Iowa where they went, you know, they had one of these innocuous bus signs that says you can be good without God or something like that in the Capitol in Des Moines. And during that controversy, they had the governor, in a press conference, they asked the governor, he said, well, do atheists have free speech rights? And of course, the governor replied, well, I don't know. Did he read? He didn't go to the law school I went to. I remember that in my, you know, high school civics class, but apparently not. You know, they're not interested in that. And of course, you know, we had John Shimkus. Some of you may not know him, but John Shimkus is one of the 535 people that make decisions for a nation of 300 million. And John Shimkus, last year, when they were debating in Congress global warming, Congressman Shimkus said, listen, you don't need to worry about that global warming because it says right in the Bible that there will be one flood and only one flood, the Noah flood. That's over. Don't worry about it. Got it covered. All set. So it's a, well, that's a a little relief there. Then Congressman Shimkus, he said this on the record too in committee hearing. He further stated that there was a big theological debate, I'm not making this up, about whether there was enough carbon being produced. Now, is there a passage in the Bible about carbon production? I don't know, but that's what he said, And just before you think, well, it's all these other states, I do want to point out Representative Wally Herger. You may not have heard of him, member of Congress from California. Wally Herger, he was at a town meeting, one of the things politicians have is town meeting with the constituents, right? And a constituent came up and said to Congressman Herger, "I am a proud right-wing terrorist." To which Congressman Herger replied, "Amen, God bless you, there goes a great American." Now, I don't know, but all I'm saying, he since corrected himself, and I'm like, well, whatever it is that he wanted to say, but all I can tell you is when I am your lobbyist in Washington, when I take on a tough job, I am taking on a tough job on your behalf, working with these kinds of folks. I mean, I don't know if you know Lynn Westmoreland from Georgia, member of Congress from Georgia. You might remember him. He was the one who said that you have to have the 10 Commandments posted in the United States Congress. And when they asked why, he said, well, you need to have the 10 Commandments in a judicial body. Judicial, legislative, he's in Congress himself, doesn't know the difference between judicial and legislative. Then they brought him on Comedy Central and they said, 10 Commandments, very important, please name them. He couldn't get to 5. I don't know. So this is what we face in Congress when we're dealing with issues on your behalf. So I want to start out, though, talking about our key issues in the context of something I know nothing about, which is the Bible. Growing up here in Southern California, my folks would go on those summer vacations, and I'd sit in the back of the car, right, with my kid's sister, and we would fight about who was on which side of the line in the back seat. But one year, while we're driving on one of these summer vacations, I decided, okay, I'm going to read the children's Bible. Some of you may remember the edition. It's kind of got the faux leather cover with the purple and red embossed writing on there. And I said, all right, I'm gonna get through this book. And, it's a summer vacation coming from California, so we're going through, like Utah. It's desert. It looks kind of biblical. So I'm feeling very biblical reading this Bible. And I get to the part of the Bible where God instructs Abraham to kill his son. Now, for you biblical scholars, some say that's, part of a test or something. But whatever the case, God instructs Abraham to kill his son, and we're told that's a good thing. That means he's a God-fearing person if he'd be willing to kill his own son. And I'm looking at my dad in the driver's seat thinking, I hope he's not too God-fearing, because this does not look good from my perspective as the kid in this situation. But it was really the first time in my life where I remember having that moment of questioning. That moment where I said, would it be a moral God that would suggest, even as a test, that someone kill their child? And would it be a moral person that would even consider obeying such a request from a God or anybody else? And then the third question is, are children some form of chattel? Are they some form of property that can be used in religious sacrifice? Is that what children are? So it raised serious questions for me. And we all, most of us anyway, know that story from the Bible. It's part of our cultural heritage. But I want to tell you a true story of the 21st century, this decade, about a little girl named Amia White. And Amia White was 2 years old. And Amia White went to child care, like most children in the United States today. She went to child care. And at the child care, the staff lost track of Amia White. They couldn't find her. And she was left alone in a van in the sun in Alabama for 2 hours. And after 2 hours, little Amia White's heart gave out, and she died alone in that van. And on the outside of the van were painted the words, Holy Church, because this was a religious child care. And under Alabama law, I want you to envision 2 child cares side by side. One is a secular child care, one is a religious child care.